Welcome back. Today we're making a German Black Forest cake that I'm taking to work for an Oktoberfest. Since we have been traveling the last few days, I have changed my recipe to a 9x13 dish, which in a traditional form in Germany you usually see them in a round shape, and they are a lot of decorating work. So if you need a quick dessert for maybe an Oktoberfest or any other event, follow me on this recipe. Before I go over the ingredients, I want to quickly mention that we need to preheat the oven. I have it set at convection at 350 Fahrenheit or 170 Celsius. So let's get started with the ingredients. 4 extra large eggs, flour, sugar, baking cacao, cornstarch and baking powder. As always, I will list the ingredients in cup measures and metric units. So we'll start with the eggs, and I like to use the KitchenAid, so all 4 eggs, we'll put them in, the whole eggs. Here, I think that's a little easier. It's a little messy first, but that's okay. So we're adding the sugar to it. And turn on the KitchenAid. Slowly, but it needs to go up to full speed. And this has to beat now for 4 minutes. So let it beat for 4 minutes and then we'll start adding the other ingredients. So the 4 minutes are over. You might be able to see, I'm not quite sure. You see the consistency is like a foamy, spongy dough mixture. Let's get that back up here. So we're adding now the flour, the baking powder, cornstarch and the cocoa. So we want to sift that in. So it needs to be, added here. I usually just add, if possible, oops, didn't want to make such a mess, but that just happened. So, baking powder, cornstarch, all together, and then we'll sift that in there quickly, so we get it super fine. And cocoa, so we get a dark sponge cake for the Black Forest cake. We want to have this chocolate. Okay, there we go. I usually just, let me see how I get that the best way for you guys on the video. Let me see, I maybe just take that out for a second. Sift that in until I get it all in there. At the moment you don't see any dark yet. We haven't gotten to the cocoa, but that's okay. It will mix in quickly, starts to come through. Almost. And then important for the sponge cake is that we don't overbeat it. So we will let the KitchenAid just run for a very short period, and then we do the rest quickly by hand. It needs to be just folded in, but you don't want to lose much of that spongy texture that we just created. Okay? So usually just let it quickly go, like this, turn it off, and I use the mixer here and just fold it in a little more. It's okay if you still see some flour, but you want to get that mixture blended in as much as possible. don't overbeat it, otherwise we're losing that fluffiness of the dough. See, I think that's pretty good. I'll show you. I'll turn it around that you can see it. See, just like that. And then I have prepared a creased 9x13 dish. I'll get that here, and then we'll just fill it in. I usually clean up the mixer so we're not losing any. Just like that. And then we'll put the dough in here and spread it nice and even, as good as we can. And then it will go in the oven that we had obviously preheated. I'll report how long mine took because I converted it now to that 9x13 dish, but I would guess somewhere 20 to 25 minutes. But I'll let you know when we continue the recipe in a little bit. Okay, then we'll spread that nice and equal. And then it will just go in the oven, and I'll see you shortly again. So we're back. I baked the cake now for 18 minutes. It didn't take any longer for me. And I wanted to show you, I usually use a toothpick and pick the cake and see, and if there's nothing stuck to it, it's good, okay? Just to start with it. So the cake needs to cool down. Mine is completely cold. And I will now quickly talk about a couple options here. Since I'm taking it to work, I will not use any alcohol. But a traditional Black Forest cake is made, and forgive me, I didn't have one at home, but it's made with something that is like a cherry schnapps. It's called cherry water translated, so Kirschwasser in German. This is one of the best brands you can get in Germany. It's called Schladerer. So I had another one, just made a little note that you can see the writing on it, so Kirschwasser, but any other cherry liquor, if you want to do that, would be fine. I personally think it tastes good without it too, but if you use it, I would be very careful how much I put on there. So I would recommend for a size like this, up to maybe a quarter cup of the liquor, maybe even less. And then I would just equally spread it over it a little bit, maybe use a brush, but that's just your preference here. So we will now spread the cherries on it, and then we'll do the whipping cream at the top, and then we're done. So I purchased, just to make it very, very simple, some cherry pie filling, and I got 2 cans here that I will now spread on top of the cake. Let me see if I need both or not, since I converted the recipe. But I think we need both. And if it's a little more, I'll tell you if I used a little less. But let's start with the most of it here. Let me spread it over a little bit. I don't want to have it too much on it either, because ideally I would like to be able to put the lid on to carry it to work tomorrow, but we'll see if that works or not. On the other hand, this is adding the flavor, so I don't want to take that away. So just so you see, I used a little tiny bit less than the 2 cans. Not sure if you can see that, but it's really not much. So I want to say it's the majority of the 2 cans that's in there. Okay, so we're spreading that over here. For right now, I put that aside just so I can show you how I make the whipping cream. You see in my ingredient list here, I use 3 cups of heavy whipping cream, not any other options. So I use just the heavy whipping cream. Put them in my bowl here. Add 2 tablespoons of sugar. and let the KitchenAid do the rest here. That takes also, it's hard to tell, but I'll show you when it's done, but it will take several minutes. You have to slowly increase that, but I want to have it running at high speed. And at the beginning time you have to be a little careful, otherwise you have it all over yourself and the kitchen. And I'll show you in a moment how it has to look like when it's finished. So I show you now how the whipping cream looks like when it's done. Let me take it out of the KitchenAid. So it's kind of like this, and I verify and check if it's good with a knife, and just cutting through it. And if you see, it's hard really to show you, but if you see the line stays and doesn't fold back together, then the whipping cream is good to be used. Okay, so we will try to spread it now because we have the cherries there, and we try to get the whipping cream on top of the cherries. Ideally that without mixing in the cherries, so that's maybe a little challenge. See, you see that happen somewhat, so we'll have to be careful. Let's do that maybe in little steps. I think that goes better, much easier. So go around, because the cherries are, you know, hard but not really firm enough, so they can easily blend. Let me maybe use the knife, sometimes that goes a little better. There we go, much better. So we'll spread that all the way over. If you get some cherry on there, don't be too concerned. I try to just mix it in or kind of take it off, you know, because we're adding some chocolate on top of it. So we can maybe cover some of those spots. When in the house will eat it. And then I go over it and make it as smooth as I can. Works, in my opinion, the best way with a knife or some other things, but it really doesn't matter because we're putting some chocolate on there in a moment, so it's nicely covered then anyway. Okay, there we go. I got a couple chocolate bars here and a little grater, so I just go over it for decoration to keep it really simple. If it's maybe summertime and you have some fresh cherries, you could use some pitted cherries on there too for decoration. But I like the chocolate version because it really is simple, adds some additional flavor, and you can just manage how much or how little chocolate. That's obviously not the way, yeah, how much or how little we want to use. It was maybe a little more than we wanted. And then just go over it and, you know, add it as you're liking. I use milk chocolate. You can buy any chocolate at the store, whatever's your flavor. Some people like to use dark chocolate. It's really up to your taste what you use. Maybe mixed version of both would look good too, but I had milk here at home and used that. So go over it, sprinkle it there, as much or a little as you want. I mean, for me it's like, I will most likely cover it in chocolate. But that's the way we do the Black Forest cake. I hope you give it a try and you enjoy it. Thanks for watching my YouTube.